Hello and welcome back to another Cookie Tech video. In today's video I'm going to be teaching you on how you can make your very own auto team assign command. So before I teach you on how you can make this for yourself, we're going to quickly head inside of this Roblox game and then we can test it and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so now you can see we're inside of the Roblox game, and how the system works is it essentially checks how many people are inside of the game, and depending on how many people you want per team, it will automatically assign those people to a team. So keep in mind the command will be rank locked, but I've made it so that anybody can use it. However, you can change that, and then inside of your chat you're going to run /assign. You can change the prefix if you want to, and now when I run this command you can see both members are assigned to the team, and this is because I set it so that every team has a maximum of 2 players, and that means the 2 players in the game will be split up into that one team. However, if you set it to 1 person per team, both of these people would have their own individual team. So now we're going to head over to Roblox Studio where I'll show you how you can make this for yourself. Okay, so now that you're inside of your brand new Roblox Studio instance, we're going to start off as usual by clicking on base plate. This will bring us to a brand new base plate. Keep in mind all scripts used in today's tutorial can be found and downloaded in the link in the description down below, so keep that in mind. However, if you want to learn about the scripting and the challenges I faced when creating this script, be sure to listen on so you can gain some experience. So this script is surprisingly simple. It's around 70 lines or so, and to start off we're going to create a script inside of server script service. So this only requires one script. It's super simple to do, and all we have to do is click on the plus button, and then we need to click on script. And now you can call this script whatever you want to. I want to call it handler. However, you could call this, for example, assign team handler. That's just down to personal preference. Now we need to create the script. So normally I import my services, so I'm going to do that first. So today we're going to have to be using the team service, as that's how you have teams in Roblox. So we say local teams equals game get service teams, and now we also need to get the players teams, so we can do that local players equal game get service players, and we need to have both of these services so we can reference them later on in our script. Next we're going to have to set up a few variables, so we're going to drop a line, and then we're going to say local group ID equals, I'm going to set this to 0 for now, however we will be editing this in just a second. Then we're going to say local min rank, so that's a minimum rank who can access this command. Then I'm going to set that to 0, and then local prefix. So a prefix is what becomes before a command. So for example, if it was exclamation mark, the command would be exclamation mark assign. However, if it was a slash, you'd have to say /assign for the command to work. Next, we're going to set the maximum team size. So to do this, we drop another line, and we're going to say local max team size. And now this is how many people you want inside of a team at maximum. So for example, if we have a server of 10 players and we want 2 people per team, we'll end up with around a maximum team size of 2. And that means we'd have 5 teams, because 5 times 2 is 10 of course. However, if I wanted a maximum size of 10, it means if we had 10 players in our server, we'd have only 1 team. So it's simple mathematics basically. Next we're just going to say local teams table equals, and then these squiggly brackets. This is a table that we'll be editing later on, so don't worry about that for now. And then finally we need to say local colors equals, and then we're going to use the squiggly brackets for once more. Now we need to define these variables. Okay, so first things first, we want to set our group ID. So of course we want our command to be limited to people who only have a certain rank inside of our group. So you can see I've head over to Roblox, and you can see if I size that up, we have our group right here. Now to get our group ID, we just double click on this number up here, we right click and we copy this. Then let's head back to Roblox, and then let's paste our group ID in there. Then it's Alt P. I'm just going to publish this so I don't lose any of my progress. I'm just going to call this auto assign command. Now I'm going to save that, and then hopefully once it saves I can close that and then publish that. Great, so now that we've got our group ID, we want to get our minimum role. So let's head over to these 3 dots and then head over to configure group. Now we only want people who are a developer or above to have access to the command. So as you can see, there's a number for each rank. So owner has 255, admin has 3, and player has 1. And now we want it so people who are 3, so let's copy that, 3 or above to have access. So that means, actually no, we want people who are developer or above. So if you're a developer or you're an owner, you'll have access to the command. Now let's head back to Roblox Studio, and then we've got the number, and then we need to just paste in 5. Great, so now our prefix, that's the thing that goes before. I've already explained this, so I'm just going to keep that on slash. However, you could set it to exclamation mark. Some people use colons, but I'm just going to keep it on the slash. And then we have our max team size. For now, let's just set it to 1. However, we can change that, so that's the maximum amount of players you want per team. Then we have our teams table, which we can ignore since we'll be interacting with that in the code. And now we have the teams table, and these are just going to be a ton of brick color new values. I've copied this from the script in the description down below, and I'm just going to paste that into the colors. You can see it's pretty long, but these are just all the colors that the leaderboard will be. So if you want, you can change those colors. It's kind of down to personal preference, however, that's how I like it. Next, we're going to write the function that handles creating the teams. So what we need to do is we need to create a brand new function. To do that, you just say local function create teams, and then we drop a line, and now we need to say local teams generated equals 0. So this of course is how many teams have been generated. Now we need to get the amount of players in the server, so we can do that by saying local amount, let's put a capital there, amount of players equals hashtag, so that's the amount of players get children. So right now we're just getting how many players that are inside of the game, and that will simply return an integer value, so we don't need to worry about that. Now we're going to say local teams required, and now we're going to use a bit of math here. So what we need to do is we need to say math.ceil, and that's going to round the number. And then what we need to do is we need to divide the amount of players by the max team size, and then we need to round it upwards, so we're going to say plus 0.5. And now that's going to round amount of players divided by max team size, and then it's going to round it upwards, and that's very important as we want more teams needed than there should be, so that just stops any issues from occurring. Next, we're going to create a for loop, so we need to say for count equals 1, comma, teams required do. Now this for loop will for loop through how many teams are required. So for example, if there are 12 teams required, it will do this loop 12 times. This is useful as it makes the script so much faster, and it makes it so much more customizable. So to start off, we can say teams generated plus equals 1. So now we're adding 1 onto the teams generated variable, and this is important for naming purposes and that. And then we're going to say local team created, and now we're going to say instance.new, and this will create a brand new instance, and then we're going to use these speech marks, and then we're going to call it a team. So we're creating a brand new team. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to give the team a name. So we can say team created dot name equals, and then we're going to say team space, and now we need to concatenate it with teams generated. And now for teams generated, as we're adding a value onto that, it'll be called team 1, team 2, team 3, because we're just concatenating the number on. Next, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to assign a team a color. So to do this, we can say team created dot team color equals colors. So inside of the colors table, then we're going to use these square brackets, math.random. Now 1, because that's our minimum, so it's picking a random number in between 1 and the amount of variables we have inside of our table. Then I'm just going to publish it to save all progress. And if you want to be on the very safe side, what you can do is you can remove this. This is optional, brick color dot random. Now, it may spit out some ugly colors, so keep that in mind. However, if you have a large amount of players in your server, this may be the safe system to use. However, since I don't have more than 50 players, I think I should be safe using this random function here. But just keep that in mind, as that may cause some issues further down the line. But I'm just going to keep this line how it is, so it's a lot more simpler for me. Next, what we're going to do is we need to make sure that the teams aren't auto-assignable. So what this means is if somebody joins the game, they'll automatically be assigned a team. We don't want this to happen, so what we're going to do is we're going to say team created dot auto-assignable equals false. Then what we're going to do is inside of our table that we created above on line 9, we're going to say table.insert, and then we're going to say teams table, that's the one we defined above, comma 0. And then we're just adding the value 0 into our table, and we're doing this every time we add a team. And this is so that we can easily track the amount of players inside of a team. Next, we need to create the function that will assign the players the team. So we're going to drop down a couple of lines, and then we're going to create a brand new function, local function, and we're going to call this function assign teams. Then we're going to drop a line, and now what we need to do is we need to say local current team to add to, and now this is telling our script which team to assign a player to, and by default that's going to be set to 1. And now we need to use some for loop magic, and we're going to say for I, v in I pairs players get children. Nope, that is completely the wrong function. Get children do, and now we're looping through all the players inside of our game. And now we need to assign them a team. So to do this, we say local team found equals game get service, then speech mark teams. Actually, we don't have to call that every time. As you remember, we actually set a variable where we defined teams. So in fact, we don't need to write game get service, as we've already got that before. So we can simply say team, and then what we need to do is we need to use our square brackets. And then what we need to do is we're going to have to put our speech marks, and then we're going to say team. Then very important, you put a space, and then you say ... current team to add to. So right now it's finding the team with the specific team name. Now we're going to drop a line, and then we're going to just say print current team to add to. This is for debugging. However, if you know that your script will work, you can just comment that out, so we can do that for now. However, that might come in handy when debugging, just in case. And then we're going to say local next team. Then we're finding the next team we need to assign to. And then what we need to do is we're going to have to say, I've actually made a mistake. My bad. We're not going to get the next team at all. We're going to say if hashtag team found get players is bigger or equal to max team size then. And the reason we're not going to assign a team straight away is we need to make sure that our table isn't at the maximum, or our team isn't at the maximum amount of players. So we're checking how many players are inside of a team, and then if they're bigger or equal to a maximum team size, then we can go ahead and continue. So now we're going to handle as if the team was at its maximum capacity. And to do this, we're going to say current team to add to equals current team to add to plus 1. And now we're adding 1 into the current team to add to, as our current team, for example, team 1, is at its maximum capacity. Then we're going to drop a line, and then we're going to say local next team equals, now we're working out the next team is going to be teams. Then we're going to use our square bracket again. Then we're going to put in speech marks team, very important you leave a space again, ... current team to add to. So now we're working out the next team, and now we need to assign the next team to the player. So to do this, we can say v.team, and v is actually the player that we've been looping through. The player we've been looping through, v.team equals next team. Now it's all well and good handling when a team's at its maximum capacity. However, we need to handle when the team already has a bit of space left in it. So what we can do is we can drop a line, backspace, else. So now we're handling as if the team still has a bit more space left. Then what we need to do is we need to assign the player a team. So we can say v.team equals team found, and that is the variable we defined above. And now what we need to handle is, let's just say for example we accidentally had a few more teams than we initially thought we needed to have. So what we can do is we can run the final check, as I like to call it. So what we can do is we can say local final check equals, and then teams, then our square brackets once more, and then we're going to say team final time. This time it's very important that you leave a space, so we're going to do that. And then we need to say dot current team to add to +1, so we're working out the team that might accidentally have been added due to the rounding feature. Then we're going to drop a line, and then we're going to say if hashtag final check, and then get players is bigger, is smaller, or equal to 0, then, so we're checking if this final team has any players, because we don't want to delete a team that has players in it. And then we're simply going to say final check : destroy. Now we have all the functions that handle creating a team and assigning a team. However, none of these functions will work unless we fire them. So now we're going to drop a few lines, and then we're going to say game.players.player added connect function, and then we're going to get the player that joined, then we're going to drop a line, and now we need to get the player's rank inside of our group. So to do this, we're going to say if player, make sure you don't put players and you put player, do get rank in group. Now we need to get our group ID, and now what it's doing is it's getting the rank inside of our specified group. And then what we need to make sure is if it's bigger or equal to our minimum rank, then, so now this will only work if the player is above a minimum rank, then player.chatted, so when a player chats, connect function message, now we're getting the message of the player that joined, then, and now we can run our functions. So it looks like I made a mistake here. Yeah, I did. Player function message, and we're almost there. Now we just need to make sure that the message is our command, so we can say if message, which is just the variable we defined above, the one that just got by the player chatting, is equal to our prefix concatenated with the assign command. Then we can run our functions, create team, and assign teams. And now let's publish that and head inside of our game. So for now I've made it so that the maximum amount of players per team is 1, and we can test that out by going over to test and creating a testing server with 2 players, and if my calculations are correct, we should both have our individual teams as the maximum player per team is 1. So let's click on the start button. Let's wait for that to load in now. And then actually this might not work as we need to have the correct rank in our group. So let's just make sure. However, let's run /assign. Yes, it won't do anything. That's actually a good sign though, because now we know that the commands are actually rank logged. So what I have to do is I need to clean all of these up. So let's just click on the clean up button, and then let's head back, and then let's also close that there, clean up. And now we can just test that out as a solo. We can see, we can make sure that we get 1 command. Let's just wait for us to load in again. And this is really important, our testing purpose, to make sure we have no bugs, errors, or anything like that. I'd highly recommend bug testing quite often. It helps you detect any issues you may have in the long run. And now all we have to do is we need to say /assign. Oh, that is such a silly error. We aren't setting the parent of the team. So what we need to do is we can just drop a line right after auto assignable, and then we're going to say .parent equal teams. Okay, that's a really basic error, but luckily this shows you why debugging is so important. I'm probably going to keep this inside of the video, so if you hear this, you have just gone through 10 minutes of debugging with me. It was a pretty silly error, so let's Alt and P to make sure our game is published. Home, and then let's head into play. Fingers crossed it all works this time. Okay, we're loading in. and then let's run the /assign command, and then hopefully we get all of the teams that we need to get. /assign, and that's it. The system all works. It will auto assign, it's scalable, and it works how you want it to work. Thank you for tuning in to today's video. That's all from me. Feel free to head over to our forums on forums.thecookie.dev. We can help you with any scripting support, or we'll talk about you with Roblox. Thank you for tuning in. That's all from me, and bye bye.